So BTC trading just under 85K, but it's actually been all about the altcoins this weekend because there has been new tariff developments. There's new news out from Uncle Donald, and things are suddenly looking a little bit more interesting. So guys, we're going to break down this whole weekend. We're going to tee up some of these alts. We're going to see, do we need to be ultra bullish now? Are we going up for the next while, or are we going to get messy? So altcoins are coming, Bitcoin's coming. I've got a guess. There's so much happening here on a Sunday. Let's get right into it. And remember, guys, as always, I am always on Actual Banter Plus. This is the Crypto Banter main channel. So if you like this type of trading content, you can see me on Banter Plus. But obviously, hit the like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe, do all those fun things. I've got James in the house. You're familiar with him by now. You've seen him enough. He's our research man extraordinaire, tinfoil hat situation. He's going to bring in some tariff talk just now. I've got DJ Dave in the house. He's teeing up for a big hackers session directly after the show, and I've asked him to join us. He's got a short we've just taken right now. We're not going to tell you just yet, and we've got a long coming, so we're going to bring him up. Make sure you're hitting the like for Davey over there, and let's take a look. Let's go with Banter Bubbles. Now, a little bit red now today, okay? So, but it's been a beautiful weekend. If you were teed up fully long, you've been absolutely smiling. Things have been cooking. I think it was a mix of a squeeze, and then the news came in and got super exciting. But overall, I'd say some good performance from my side. I think Link did well, Render did well. Popcat was an absolute insanity pump, and I got caught trying to short that one in a couple of these trading accounts. That was spicy as it played out. So we're going to tackle Popcat today. We're going to get you guys some fresh entries as well on that thing. Okay, so all around, I'd say a mixed bag here on the daily. Let's get into BTC. Let's see what is going on. So before we crack on, I just want to say last week, on Friday, I said to you guys, okay, this is the plan. It's going to be above this line. I said, here's our magic line. This was our magic line here. I said, above the line is handbags. I said, below the line is rags. Okay. And they obviously went with handbags, and that gave us maximum pumpage on some of these altcoins this weekend. So it was super fun if you were sitting nice and pretty. So let's go BTC here on the 2 hour. Let's just get a grasp of where we are on the lower time frame. So you're going to see a lot of confluence here with some of these alts. So Bitcoin at the moment has topped out at 85,500. This was one of our resistance bands that we were looking at last week. There was a lot of reasons why it could have gone there. And number one, there was a liquidation heat map that was showing that was quite a big area. But on top of that, 50-day moving average, we had our 786 as well. Nice horizontals there. So that was a typical magnet zone or typical reaction zone for us on BTC. Now you can see we've had a rejection, and you're going to see a similar move on some of these alts, but essentially now we could be in the start of a mini downtrend here until we get a few more bullish entries that could be teeing up for us. So my dream situation is some kind of dip for Bitcoin into 81,700, or alternatively, say 79K. Those two levels for me make the most sense of a perfect scenario where you get a nice pump on the weekends, they come back, they take out some late shorters, and then you get some nice bullish entries to start ripping and taking advantage of the latest news developments. So that is my ideal situation, but obviously, things can happen, and we might start moving off this potential area. So 83,300, that is a zone of interest. You can see it's my reluctant 236 fib pool. This is our super bullish fib that we use only in emergencies, and if you're feeling like an absolute degen, you bang out that 236. It normally covers you when things are super bullish, and you're going to see a lot of altcoins have bounced off this 236 for now. So Bitcoin terms, 83,300. Next one, 81,600. Next one, call it 79K. Those are my downside zones for BTC. These are my ideal bounce zones for us. Now, in terms of upside danger and things like that, well, we got to take out 85.5. That is zone number one. Then I've got obviously a very important factor for us. This is the 200-day moving average. And then I've also got previous highs here where we know this was major resistance before. So another big danger zone for me, guys, 87 200 into that VWAP at around 89K. That is a big short zone there. That is a zone we know a lot of guys are going to be climbing in short there, looking for BTC to roll over if we get a pump into that zone. I just want to highlight this VWAPs from the absolute highs as well. So it's going to be carrying quite a lot of power in that area. Now, in terms of a couple of other things that I look at, you can see our 2-hour oscillator has been trying to print divergence, and you're going to find this in a lot of these altcoins as well that have just started falling over a little bit. So a little bit of divergence there on the 2-hour. You can see they are trying to fight back now at the moment, but potential, ultimately, I'd love to see this 2-hour reset for us. Do something along those lines on BTC, preferably on one of these regions. That would be my dream scenario there for BTC, if we can get that playing out for us. So that's the downside, that's the upside, and basically these are the ping pong zones that I'm expecting to play in the next, say, 24 hours. So obviously leading into my show tomorrow, we'll be able to cover with a lot more information, because that news is going to get digested in the US market. So it's definitely going to be a story. And Champion says, can't wait to short no more. Look, shorting is super fun though. I mean, we're definitely enjoying it at Hackers, sending things down to zero. There's definitely a vibe with that going on. Guys, one more bit of confluence here for you is the liquidation heat map. I've had to bang out the 1 month, okay, because these guys have cleaned out so much at the moment. So the 1 month is showing this beautiful band here, 88,000, 89,000, and I just want to highlight that it's a nice juicy zone. If you were a market maker and you were looking at this type of thing, you'd be feeling quite excited about that region up there. And just a reminder, that ties in with this major short zone, and that is also theoretically it's my no FOMO zone. So until we well clear of that type of area, we do need to be a little bit cautious. But obviously there's been developments now this weekend that could lean us a little bit more bullish. So let's jump into the news and let's see what is going on. So in terms of the fear and greed index, it feels like nobody is scared anymore. All of a sudden we're back at 45. Now this thing was at what was it, James? 16, 18, 20. It was definitely, it's max fear. So that is looking better. The stock market is still at extreme fear, but I suspect this thing is going to gap up tomorrow, and you're going to see this thing move higher. So I'm going to cover this on my show tomorrow for you guys, obviously. And then in terms of liquidations, I was a little bit disappointed. I thought there would have been way more late longers here. We've only done 185 million in liquidations in the last 24 hours. I suspect if they do give us a flush, there's going to be a lot of late weekend longers that are going to get taken out. So guys, if you did catch a few late longs there on the weekend, just be careful. Okay, hold on to your undies there. Things could get spicy. And who's feeling like this when you went ultimate bear, when the Bitcoin fear and greed index was 18, when you were basically just selling your Bitcoin and your altcoins on major support levels? Who feels like this guy? Calming down, bro. You sold Bitcoin at 72K. Same. Okay, and here's Uncle Donald. Now, this is very important.
We're going to have so much money coming in from tariffs. Tariffs on pharmaceuticals, tariffs on steel, car tariffs, hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs, substantial tariffs, 10% tariffs, 25% tariffs, 50% tariffs, big tariffs. I love tariffs.
I love tariffs. Do you love tariffs? Dave, do you love tariffs? His favorite thing.
Yeah.
Dave, do you love tariffs?
Man, I'm loving that video.
Just tariffs, guys. I must say, I saw in the chats, they're like, oh, it's always about Trump. But guys, unfortunately, like, we traders, okay, and we use market movers. So I need something that's moving the market. And unfortunately, or fortunately, because he provides good entertainment, but Uncle Donald is giving us so much content to long and short and all these things. So until he stops giving us that type of content, we're obviously going to keep featuring him, because this is the main reason why the markets are moving at the moment. So 130 countries now negotiating new trade deals with the US, says the White House. So that is a massive step forward. Okay, this is huge news here. That means they are all coming to the table. They're actually saying, okay, do this, do that. We'll do this, we'll do that. And everybody's trying to sort it out. Okay, so this is super bullish for the markets that were actually pricing in worst case scenarios. Now these countries are coming forward and they're trying to find amicable solutions here. So this is super bullish for the markets, in my opinion. Then last week we asked this question. Here's the real question from 𝗂𝘶𝗍𝗍 letter. Who gives up first? President Trump, China, or the bond market? Now, we know the bond market is the main factor here with a lot of Trump's decision-making at the moment. And they said this week, everyone learned exactly what it takes to pressure the U.S. in the trade war, sell U.S. treasuries and drive the treasury yields higher. The bond market is Trump's number one priority, and everybody knows it. And I think he made it very clear that it was his number one priority. And I think he basically got out-chessed here and outplayed a little bit by some of his good friends. China calls on the United States to completely cancel these tariffs. Now, this is after you might have seen this weekend where some bullish headlines resulting in a little bit of a pump in the market. So basically, Trump has come out and he's now exempt smartphones and computers are China's largest export to the United States. And now there's an exemption on these tariffs. So what does this mean? Because the guys from Apple, for example, were absolutely panicking because a lot of their Apple devices and parts are made in China. They were going to have tariffs, all these things. Obviously, China also exports a lot of electronic goods to the US. So that was obviously Trump's way of saying, hang on, maybe we can make a plan here because the Chinese weren't giving him what he wants at the moment. So here's the playbook, and I actually love this. So this is how this has played out now in the last couple of days. Trump hikes China tariffs to 30%, then 84%. China reciprocates. Trump goes, okay, cool, we'll push this thing up to 145. China reciprocates again. Trump announces that he wants Xi to call him. China does nothing, okay? Trump announces he would be ready to make a deal. China does nothing. Trump rolls back the tariff. Sorry, bro. Just rolls it back there quietly. And now the Chinese are saying, well, you must cancel the whole damn thing. And it feels like he's getting... I don't know what this is, a comment at the bottom, but it feels like he's getting completely outschooled here. Look at that. I love these comments. Whoever's putting this in here, this is quality. Look, the art of the deal versus the art of war. So, look, it hasn't gone that well for Uncle Donald. But what we do know, after this move this weekend, the only thing available to trade was crypto. Okay, so that's why it started ripping. But this is actually super bullish news for US tech stocks, things like Apple, think Amazon as well, that were also caught in the mess. So for me, I think there's going to be a massive move in the US markets tomorrow. I think some of these stocks are going to absolutely gap up to the upside. And Bob says tech stocks are set to party like it's 99 at the open. So I think they're super excited about that. And nobody can be more excited than some of the politicians who had inside information. So Marjorie Taylor bought Apple, Pi, Qualcomm, Dell, Amazon, and Lamb stocks just before the news came out, apparently. Okay,
coincidence. Simply coincidence. She didn't know anything.
What an amazing investor. What insight.
Unbelievable.
Okay.
Do we know what Pelosi did? Did she buy?
No, she lost money. I saw something where she actually lost
tons.
She got rinsed. Okay. She got rinsed. Okay, so Marjorie Taylor, she's done well. Excellent investor. Okay, amazing timing of the market there. And let's take a look at a couple of stocks and a couple of stops. So what I'm thinking here is, tomorrow, whatever happens in Asia is going to happen. But I think US stocks tomorrow are going to gap up. I think out of desperation with the markets, I think there's going to be a big push. And I do believe it's potentially going to be an opportunity to short this stuff. And the reason being is these things have a long way to go before they start hitting things like 200-day moving averages, 50-day moving averages, 100-day moving averages. We know it's a long trip to the upside. So if the market gets super excited about this news, gaps this thing up, I would suggest, for me, okay, I'm going to be looking for a short tomorrow if it reaches these levels, 220 on Apple to 230, 220 to 230. That's my short zone. It's a 618 horizontals, moving averages coming out of my ears up there. And I would expect that would be a nice rejection zone. So if you want to short this thing with me on BTCC, I'll be doing that tomorrow. Let's see if we can catch it live on the show, even better if we get a strong pump into that region. But that for me is a super interesting zone. So 220 to 230 for me, possible short coming there on Apple, and I'm going to short these on BTCC. So I'm waiting very patiently, and you can see there I've been looking at something called Coin. Okay, this might be something for us as well. Okay, so that is Apple. Let's look at Amazon, another one that's potentially going to gap up tomorrow, and potential rejection coming. So the zone I like for a possible Amazon short is going to be between 200 and 214. So if you're trying to buy this thing market buy. Let's say you're trying to buy this thing long. You're probably saying, why is this guy looking for shorts? Well, what's going to happen is like the regular person cannot buy pre-market. So you're not going to get an opportunity to buy Apple, and the market's going to open and it's going to gap up. I don't know how much, 2%, 5%, 8%, who knows what it's going to be. But the market's going to be super excited tomorrow, and then we're going to have to see what happens with these tokens at these major rejection zones and these major resistance zones. So that is how I'm going to play it. So the only possible trade available for me is going to be a short, because we don't have pre-market opportunities here to get in early. Okay, and then I see Zen's in the house, and you can see Coinbase. Is it time to long Coinbase? Now, the crypto market's been abused, as we know. Things have been selling off, things have been getting really filthy and ugly, and with that goes down Coinbase. Now, obviously, when the crypto market is doing well, it means Coinbase is probably a buy, because they are making fees. Remember, there are more traders, there's more interest in crypto, people are buying crypto. So when the crypto fear and greed index hits things like 20, when you're feeling super bearish on crypto, you probably want to start looking at trades like Coinbase as well. And no coincidence here, Coinbase has dropped into our macro 618 pool. Look at that, $150 here for Coinbase, and I expect there is some potential pumpage on this guy as well. And for me, targets to the upside, 215. Let's see if we get that. Then a little bit higher, you're going to look at about 280. For me, is going to make a little bit of sense. So let's see how the market settles on Monday. Okay, let's see how things work out. But for me, could be a nice long coming, as long as it doesn't pump too hard on Monday. Okay, so 150, watching that one closely. I think that could be an absolute banger. And remember, guys, all these charts that you see here go straight into Chart Hackers, because at Chart Hackers, we also trading stocks. Okay, so you guys know me. I'm an altcoin trader mainly. I trade a bit of Bitcoin, obviously, and now we're bringing in a lot of stocks into the equation. And some of our scalper team, they are trading things like gold. They're trading things like the NASDAQ as well for you guys. So if you want a mix of everything, come hang out with us at Chart Hackers. I've obviously got my whole channel, or my whole section here, dedicated to some of these stock charts for you guys as well. Okay, and then I just want to touch on the S&P for you guys, and just something I picked up here the other day. So you looking at a weekly chart on the S&P 500, and you can see all these arrows at the bottom. What I've highlighted is these arrows are pointing at the little green marks there, those reversal prints that you can see. And we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 previous reversal prints in this series that I'm looking at. And whenever we've got a green print, except for one occasion, we've had massive moves to the upside on the S&P. So this is the weekly chart. There was our first reversal print. We had a beautiful move to the upside. The second time we had that one, we had a tiny move here, and then they actually dumped it. Then we had a big reversal print here. Look at that banger there all the way up. Then this other occasion as well, same story. Okay, so what happens next? Well, that is anybody's guess. But if we're using history as a guide, maybe there's a sign that these lows are going to hold for the S&P. And look, they might come down and tap it again. But in terms of the reversal sign, remember, this is a weekly chart. So time takes, time will play on. But I suspect we are going to hold these lows now on the S&P. And I would expect the worst is now done. And based on this information. Okay, so we got a 3 out of 4 hit rate. Let's see if it holds 4 out of 5. And David's in the house. Yes, David, come and hang with us, bro. In fact, give David a BitFunded there, James. Okay, David, come to Hackers, bro. In fact, the next 5 people that sign up to Hackers, I'm giving you a BitFunded base challenge worth $79. Okay, so David, sign up to Hackers now, bro. Then you're going to mail dylan.giveaways@cryptobanter.com. James, please drop that in the comments there for me. dylan.giveaways@cryptobanter.com. Watch the comments. You're going to get it now. And you signing up to Hackers now, bro, I'm going to send you a base BitFunded account. Okay, coming in hot for you there, sir. The first 5 that do that are going to get BitFunded. You know what to do. Just mail and show them that you signed up now with Hackers, and we're going to sort you out. Okay, cool. S&P done. Now, guys, with this bullish news, okay, I've started a short on something called PaxG, which is basically the crypto version tracking gold. Now, I've been talking to you guys for a very long time about where I would like to short gold. And for me, it was always this 3,270 region. The reason being it was this 3618 fib, and it was one of our gold targets for a very long time. We've been watching this for months, actually. I mean, I think we've been watching this from probably from December as a potential gold target. So the day has finally arrived, and we are finally here. And fortunately now, if you want to short gold with me, you can do it on Bank even using PaxG. And that is what I've started a position with. My view is, with the bullish news in the market, maybe the market's going to be very happy with the current situation, and there's going to be a little bit more certainty in the market. Remember, the markets love certainty, and when they have certainty, they can grind higher and things like that. When the markets are scared, they tend to buy things like gold. Okay, so if we get, or if it goes my way, I'm expecting gold, maybe one more push up there, but I'm expecting gold to start making its way lower down. Okay, so with that, I have used my Bank account, and I've opened up a PaxG short, and well, there's our one short that I've just taken with Dave here, and let's take a look at here's PaxG. Okay, so there it is. I've opened a position earlier this weekend. PaxG, it's $39,000. Okay, if we get another pump to the upside, I'm going to add a little bit more on that PaxG short. Okay, we're looking to send gold down finally. We've been waiting for this thing for ages. Okay, and hopefully this is going to be our opportunity. So I've started that, and then I'm going to cover some of these trades for you guys in a couple of minutes. That render's been an absolute banger, and you know, you can see I'm in a render head short here at the moment. Solana's been a good long. Sol and Sui, the twins that I gave you, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday last week, I gave you the twins. I've been growing those positions, and Sol's done pretty well. Sui, so-so. Okay, we're trying to grow the size on that thing. Tao, that thing's been absolutely rinsing me, and hopefully this short is eventually going to play out. But we're going to talk about this in more detail with some of these others. Remember, anybody in my community can join my private competition that I'm having right now, and there's prizes for the top 5. Look at these prizes: $3,000 for first. Fifth prize is getting $1,000 if you want to sign up and join the Bank competition with me, guys. Okay, so all that information, obviously, of what I'm talking about is sitting in the show. Just go under the show description. Bang, there it is over there, and you'll find all the details for everything sitting under there for you guys. Okay, let's get into the juice. Let's get into the main reason we're here. Okay, Bitcoin and friends. Okay, now let's look at Bitcoin on the daily and just try and process what we're looking at. So, look, I'm not a massive trend line person. Okay, I don't love trends. I prefer the horizontals because trends are pretty subjective. Like, horizontals are horizontals, but trends, you can twist the story a little bit with trends. So there is a version here. Okay, we've broken a daily downtrend. So this is a trend with multiple touches. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, lots down here. Okay, so we've probably got 7 or 8 touches here on this trend. There is argument to say Bitcoin has broken this daily downtrend and it could be turning bullish. I highlighted last week that we had bullish divergence here on Bitcoin, and the signs were there that we were going to get some kind of push to the upside. So all the pieces of the puzzle were actually coming together last week for some kind of pump for us, and now we have broken trend. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. We know already, based on the 2-hour chart and the liquidation levels and things like that, we know there's a massive resistance band up here. We know this is a problem area for us. So step 1 for me to get super bullish has got to be still to break these horizontal levels. These are proper levels here. That 200-day moving average and horizontals at 88, 89. I really want to crack through that zone. And then the real test is going to be when we come back to this 200 or come back to this 50. Are we actually going to hold these levels? That is the question. So, you know, it's all fun and games to get, like, you know, get a little bit excited. But, you know, if you look at the bigger picture chart here, we are under some seriously major levels here. And it's difficult to get like super bullish on Bitcoin until we crack higher. And it's the same picture you are seeing on things like the S&P. You know, this is just teeing up for this dead cat bounce. I don't know what happens, you know, after that, but it really is maybe something like that on the S&P could be potentially playing out for us. But, you know, that's essentially what I'm looking at now on BTC. So let's get through 88. Let's get through 89. We'll try and use that as support later on. And, you know, we'll take on some risk there for some longs on the retest. We'll see how it goes. But, yeah, essentially, you know, you get the picture. Okay. Now let's get into the fun. So what I was saying last week was this wick fill on dominance could be bullish for alts, and look how it's played out so nicely here. So what we see on shitcoins and Bitcoin and all these things time and time again is the visits to these wicks. And once they tend to come back and fill the wick halfway. Sometimes they fill the entire wick to the upside. But this is exactly what we were looking for last week. We were looking for this wick rejection here and then a nice push down on dominance. So that move you saw on altcoins this weekend. And, you know, if you think you made a bit of money in the longs, you haven't seen anything yet, because that move was this tiny little move here on this dominance rejection. Now, imagine you get this dominance push down there. Okay, that's 3 times whatever happened this weekend, at least, for that push. So if we do get some move here, what I want to highlight for you guys again, and this is a great chart. If you're sitting in long positions, this is an amazing chart that you can use for your altcoins to know when to take profits and do things like that. All you want to do is highlight major horizontals on your dominance chart, and when you get to those types of levels on the dominance chart, these are typically the zones where you want to start taking some profits on these altcoins. And, you know, something could be said for this one here as well there. And these are the zones. So 63.1, 62.95, 62.7, 62%. These are all potential TP zones for those of you who are long, or potential areas where you can look to open hedge short. So say you've got a hedging strategy like I'm using on this Bank account. When the market pumps up nice areas, then you can bang out some hedge shorts in those zones, then let it sweat back nice and bullish, and then you look for those moves. But those are typically the areas that you're going to be looking for. And Matty says, remember dominance coming down in November? God, that was fun. Hey, James is nodding furiously here. You know, this man caught some trades this weekend. He's turning bullish again. I'm happy he's turning bullish. How was that, Brett?
Temporarily,
it was
anyway.
Sweet, wasn't it?
What's that?
Brett, it was a sweet one.
Sweet. Yeah, there was a bunch. I got tons of trades this weekend, and that's it. As soon as we got that news that the Fed starts bull posting and Trump giving relief, I was like, okay, time to flip. We'll see how long it lasts. We'll bring him back. Well, he's bringing the bear back. Okay, he's bringing the bear back. David's sitting very patiently here, looking good, bro. He did the hair for us this morning. Appreciate it. We're going to bring him back now. James, what's our likeage like here for Davey? When it's high enough, he's going to bring some banging setups for everybody. Keep us posted there. And remember, those guys that sign up for hackers, just you got the address, hey? James, you put the address in there for them, and they're just going to show they signed up for hackers, and you guys are going to get a bit funded from me. Okay, let's get into the alts. Here's ETH. And we might have to change this one again because ETH has been doing a couple of things. But this was goals, okay? This was essentially the goals. 2024. Everyone was going to take profit at 6K, myself included. 25. Let's just get back to the entry, guys. Let's just get back to our entry here on ETH. Now look at this absolute shit show here with ETH. So one more bullish thing for you guys, and you can see at the bottom of my chart here, I've written pay attention. You don't see this type of reversal often on a 3-day chart for ETH, okay? If you go back, there's not many occasions where you can see these types of reversal signs on things like ETH. Look at that divergence playing out now on our oscillator for ETH on the 3-day. That could potentially be signaling quite a large move, okay? So when you see a 3-day reversal like that, it takes a little bit of time, but sometimes they do play out. Now, I don't think you're going to get your 6K, okay? ETH bros, myself included. But I think we might get something out of ETH. So the way to play this at the moment is just to watch a couple of big zones for ETH to the upside and understand, where you might want to be taking some profits here on ETH. Look at this. Okay, those types of levels there making sense. So 191745, those are your upside resistance zones. And then in terms of short-term support, you can see they're giving it a push now, okay, on the 3-day. And that is 1,560. That's a potential support you can use. And then you can just dial it down a little bit and look at these wick lows as your support play. So if you are fiddling in ETH, okay, some support you can play with. 1560, 1470, and then 1370. Now, again, that's me saying I think the lows are in for some of these altcoins. And yeah, I mean, maybe a double bottom comes, okay, if we do get a nice rejection. But in terms of, where we are now, in terms of this reversal on ETH, I think a lot of the work is done now in terms of the selling. And I think it is time that we are going to get some more upside there on ETH. So watch those levels. I'll make sure this is in Chart Hackers for you guys. And if you're playing around in it here, those are the levels that, I would suggest you want to use if you are looking for some exit zones if there is weakness. Now, looking at Sol on the weekly, there's still argument to say this plan is in place. Now, the real test happens here, guys, when you're gonna get people jumping out of the woods saying deviation. Okay, now a deviation is when you drop below a break above a range or drop below a range,
and they quickly just send it back up and then find support, and then they grind it back higher. Okay, so it's basically a liquidity sweep. It's basically cleaning out the bears. Cleaning out the stops here for the bulls, and then sending it a little bit higher. So there is an argument in play to say the lows are in for SOL. Obviously, my plan is still in play, and my plan is going to start dissipating if we start breaking things like 170 for SOL. If we start breaking above there, then I'd say, look, okay, it's potentially off. But until then, this plan of a pump up could easily still be playing out for us on SOL, but it doesn't mean we can't enjoy the fun now and grab a couple of longs. As you can see, I've been riding that SOL long and growing the size, and there is a chance that it is going to go higher. So in terms of SOL big levels, what you can see is 170 to 180. That's a massive level to the upside. Then we've got about 147, makes a bit of sense. Now let's look at our DGen chart for SOL here, and this is what we were looking at last weekend. Bull case was for breakouts. Now, what I said to the guys was, you can have two options here. We can push SOL into a resistance band. You can take on risk, and you can take the bet that it's going to consolidate and pop through, okay? Or you can play the head short to the downside. So I decided for that SOL to rather increase the size as much as I could, while we were pushing into that zone, because I was looking for this pop on SOL. Okay, so as you can see, it is playing out now finally, and we grew that size. That trade started at $10,000. It's now $40,000 long for SOL, and that is getting now a little bit of momentum there for us. So I'm hoping that is going to hold. I'm hoping that it's going to hold the lows, or at least the bullish pullbacks, because this is something that I want to now try and grow. And I'm going to teach you how I'm going to grow that, or show you how I intend growing this position. So in terms of SOL, you can see we've rejected at the 50-day moving average. We also rejected at this wick fill over here. And remember, I showed you on that dominance chart, these wick fills are very interesting. So wherever you see wicks like that, they often become targets for you. So you can see they've pumped it into the 50. They've now rejected it. And what is next for SOL? So in terms of bullish pullbacks, now we've got to look at two scenarios, and it's very important now to play a balanced game for yourselves. Now you're going to see a lot of the altcoins I'm going to show you have dropped into 236 fibs. They are bouncing now. So 236 fibs are the super dangerous bullish or bearish fibs. They're your most bullish fib or your most bearish fib, and they're generally high risk for me. Okay, they're not my preferred buy zone. So we're going to look at these levels, and then I want to give you some bullish pullback zones where you typically find a nice healthy pullback after a weekend like this would be a 382 fib, maybe a 0.5 and a VWAP. Stuff like that is really what I'm going to be hunting to start growing some bigger size on some of these trades. So just to looking at SOL, you can see what's going on here. We're just dragging our fibs from the lows to the highs. We're looking for some bullish pullback zones. And unfortunately or fortunately, the most bullish zone that I can give you, or the safest zone I can give you, is 119 for Solana. Okay, so that is going to be a big trigger zone there. 119, that's a big add-on zone. And then 114. Okay, we don't really want to go back to 114, but in terms of being super bullish here, 119 is making the most sense to me at the moment. Now, it depends where SOL is going to reject. So in terms of rejection zones, I just want to highlight again for you guys, 135 to 138, big danger zone here for SOL. So just be careful. This is a no FOMO zone there as well. Watch out in that area. And then your next big rejection zone, that 147 I mentioned earlier, that is another big one for us. So at one of these, we should get a decent sized rejection on SOL. And then it's going to depend when the bulls step in. So if we pump into that zone, then we're going to look for that 382. Okay, we want to see that 382 bounce ideally. And the same story, if we carry on moving now today, then I'm going to look for that rejection. We're going to look for the 382 wherever it is then, and then we're going to look for that big continuation move. So the game plan is on all these things that you want to be looking for is big resistance zones. You look for divergence in these zones, and you look for potential rejections or shorts and things like that in those areas, and drops into these zones. You look for longs and divergences on nice support. So as you can see, the oscillators here at the moment, they are trying to get a little bit bearish. Let's look at a higher time frame here. I just want to give you guys a picture, because you're going to see a lot of these alts are heavily overcooked on things like 2-hour and 4 hour. They are printing reversals, they are printing divergences. And when you see these types of things playing out, it often means, we got to let this thing settle down. And that often comes with some kind of dip in the market. So if you look at a couple of examples here, that example there, what happened? It had to drop. This example here, look at that, printed the reversal, fell back down again. So we just get guided by these oscillators. So right now, the oscillators are looking a little bit tired, but it doesn't mean that it can't push into those zones. So what I want you to do is make sure you are covered in those areas. So if you are long SOL and it pumps into 137, it's a no FOMO zone. Exercise caution up there. You don't want to be going max long at 137. It's a danger zone. Same with 147, danger zone there to the upside. So for me, I love to get a drop in the market. I love to get a dip in the market for the buys or a pump into these big zones for the shorts. That's typically what we are looking for there. Okay, so big fresh longs, 119 for SOL. Possible head shorts, 137 to 139 and 147. And then in terms of the bullish zone, I want to show you this 236. And you guys can use it. Just use it wisely, okay? And you can see SOL hasn't even hit the 236 yet. So you're going to see things like 𝗬𝗰 as well hitting that area. So I just want to highlight this for you there. So DGen support for SOL traders, 124.6. That is your DGen level. Then it's 119. Okay, 124.6, 119. Those are your DGen zones for SOL. Okay, let's talk 𝗬𝗰. Now, 𝗬𝗰, like many altcoins, is showing some kind of bullish divergence here. And CoinVo says, keep this RSI divergence in mind for 𝗬𝗰. Okay, so it's similar to the BTC chart here on 𝗬𝗰. And let's see. Oh, here it is. Here's that 236 bounce. Look at that. 236 bounce for 𝗬𝗰. And it's holding the trend at the moment. But typically, what we like to see in these types of situations is the move down, bounce on the 236, bounce on the 382, something like that. Is ideally how we like it to see or how we like it to play out. So some interesting levels for us for 𝗬𝗰 that you guys can watch. And that is 2.25. This guy over here, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's horizontal trend 236 fib, and it could be quite a bullish bounce zone. Okay, so 2.25. Then I've got a banger for you guys, 2.14. So if we get a reasonable dip in the market today, 2.14 looks like quite a nice buy opportunity there for us. You're probably going to look at something like this. Okay, and you want to tie this in with reversals on those oscillators. So that would be ideal. If you can get that drop into that type of region there, that makes a lot of sense to me. So maybe lose that trend. Let's see what happens up there, because that could be potentially bearish. But if the news plays out right for us, we're going to be looking for something nice and big to the upside there. So 2.1, 2.15, 2.06. Is something that you might want to test. Now, remember, we like to see our oscillators start, creating divergence or reversals to the downside. So you'll probably find this thing will start drifting a little bit lower there, and we'll get that reversal. Look at that divergence on that occasion. Bang. Okay, so nice move to the upside there when we got that one. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Upside targets for 𝗬𝗰. I wouldn't get too excited past 2.52 for now. And we do have a 2.8er, okay, 2.8, but 2.52. Let's get there first. And hopefully that is happening, potentially tomorrow. And then we can start dealing with possible shorts at that level or working out our next potential play there on 𝗬𝗰. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you guys and mapped it out nicely. I've got a couple of other alts with similar setups, and I try to short 𝗬𝗰. Dave, are you still in 𝗬𝗰? Because I had to take that stop on 𝗬𝗰. Where did we shorted it here? Wait, there. Somewhere there, okay? And I had to take that stop on 𝗬𝗰, unfortunately. So let's see how this plays out. But for me, the buy zones for the long, add-on zones for me for this 𝗬𝗰 trade here, you can see, where's this thing? There it is, okay? So we're going to try and grow that position if we get a nice little dip there on 𝗬𝗰, okay? Let's go. Dave, are you ready for me? Let's talk hype, bro. Are we going to get smashed? Okay, how are you on hype? Because me and Dave are both short hype. We both had hype short conviction. And how's your hype looking at the moment?
I'm still in the trade. I've added more at that little squeeze yesterday. Still expecting some kind of pullback. I've actually just been charting quite a bit here today. And man, I'm just finding shorts left and right. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. So, I mean, guys, basically, you know, we've been talking about this weekend, but essentially what you're looking at now is we've had a monster pump on the weekend. So we're seeing things like the 2-hour wanting to roll over. We're seeing things like the 4-hour printing massive divergence. We're getting 8-hour reversal prints. So when Dave says he's seeing shorts, that's literally what he's picking up there. And these alts are pushing into major zones. So what is your strategy, Dave, for leading into tomorrow? What are you looking at now?
I mean, personally, I would love to see a quick flush out. I'd like to see Asia kind of just open it up, wreck every weekend track or all the weekend traders, and then grab their long entries if we are to see some kind of pump through the U.S. market, right? So there's a lot of speculation, U.S. market, great news, stocks, whatever the case may be. If Asia knows that, these guys are smart, you know, they're going to try to grab the best entry. So with that being said, I think that would be the move for them to do is wreck all the weekend traders, grab their long entry, freaking send it. So we'll see.
Yeah. 382-618 bounces, that type of shit. Okay, so I've got a couple more setups for you guys, but I'm sure you want to see what Dave has to tell you. So yeah, I don't want to steal his thunder here. We jumped into a short just now, and he's also got a long for you guys. So let's bang out some of your charts here. What do you got first here, bro?
Yeah, so I have so I just posted a JASMY trade, right? So one of the things that I saw you know, with banter bubbles, right, is like on the weekly, JASMY's been up 63%, right? You know, hype, you know, obviously we just talked about hype, you know, some of these bigger moves, we're looking for some kind of cute pullback, whether it's a 10-20%, right? Just kind of maximize on the move up and down. But so for JASMY here, I'm on the 8-hour time frame. I've got a massive fixed range pull, and you guys can see that we are coming right into value area low, where this was prior support. Soon as we lost it here, right, that was kind of the bearish vibe that JASMY continued or started to take on, right? So now we're coming right back up into a value area low on a macro pull. So now I've got the magnifying glass here. Here's what I have. So I have a point of control that's showing on chart prime. I've got an anchored VWAP coming in here, right? So we're seeing some struggles trying to get above it. You can see here on the 1-hour time frame, I've got bearish divergences screaming left and right here, right? So hidden bearish divergence and also bearish divergences. Also on the 2-hour time frame, we can see the bearish divergence forming here. So I think this is a very simple invalidation. You know, I also have a trend here as well. So you can see I have a trend line that's pulled from the 6th of January with a second touch here on the 1st of February. And we had made that third touch this weekend, right? And typically weekends are traps, you know, we'll see. But kind of what I'm looking for is for us to respect this trend line, right? And come down into, you know, whether the 50-day MA or anchored VWAP. And that could be it, right? This could be the bullish pullback. We respect the anchored VWAP, and then we go for like the point of control up here. So if we end up getting a massive sell-off or whatever, some bad news, Trump does another tweet, whatever the case may be, I mean, this could be a nice little, you know, pullback down to the 786 or round trip situation. You can see there's some bullish order blocks right here. So if this does play out, this could be a nice little 30% move, but you know, I would say take your profits, you know, every 5 to 6, 7, 8%. I mean, so TP1 here is an 8% move, TP2 is a 16% move, TP1 happy, right? So, you know, if you see price action start to break the trend right here, you know, it's either going to be a fake out, or if we see consolidation here, that's going to be my cue to just completely cut the trade. So, you know,
right. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, I'm in that short. Obviously, a lot of these alts are starting to look a little bit bearish here for us. So, you know, there's lots. So I'm going to show you a couple of these on the 4-hour, and then Dave's also got a long setup that he's going to bang out for us in a sec. So let me just show them the hype situation as well, just to update where we are. So this is what we're talking about when we're saying we're seeing shorts and things like that. We're seeing these types of reversals on our oscillators. Look at that. You get this type of pressure from these oscillators. Eventually they start falling over when you get those type of reversal signs. Obviously, it's not every time, but when you see these things at resistance zones, we need to start paying attention and, you know, maybe just being a little bit cautious with how we are operating. So in terms of that, you can see bearish divergence for hype. You can see some big zones to the upside. There's probably one more level that hype can push up to 17.4. That is probably, you know, if there is one more bullish push here before the reversal, that 17.4 could make sense. But in terms of, you know, where hype can drop for us here, guys, 15, you can see ultra bullish degen zone. I dropped that in hackers earlier today. This is a bounce zone, a 236, a 50-day MA. That's a typical bounce zone there. Then your next level 14, and your next one, guys, 13. Those are your bounce zones. So if we do start some kind of trend to the downside, you're looking at that, okay, to play out for hype. That is where you're going to nibble. Those are the areas you're looking for buys. If you're bullish, if your bias is bullish, those are where you are looking to buy these things. Let's talk bullish entries here, bro. One of them is AVAX, okay? So, yeah, some more possible downside. I did give the chart hackers a little sneaky long earlier today, just before we went live. There was a little bit of bullish divergence here on AVAX. You can see a little 1 hour, little scalpy play there on AVAX. So I did take this 1 hour trade on CoinEx a little bit earlier on. So you can see it is moving now. So the hackers guys got that trade from me, and a little bit of green here on CoinEx at the moment. So let's see if that works or turns into something a little bit better. And then in terms of AVAX, what is the game plan? So if there is a bullish push now, okay, what are we looking at? So possible upside levels before we get more downside, and I'm expecting more downside on AVAX, and possible bounce zones 20.8 and 21.5. These are the zones that I would expect it should reject, and then we should start looking for our bullish entries. Now, what are our bullish entries? Let's look at the 4 hour time frame. And let's take a look at what we got here. Look how bearish that is looking here at the upside. Okay, lots of reversal prints for us. We've even got the VWAP reversal now, blue dot, divergence, all these things. So we know AVAX is getting a little bit tired, but that gives us an opportunity. If we are bullish, we should be getting quite excited, because that can give us some kind of bullish entry on a dip in the market. So for me, the most obvious region here for AVAX is going to be 18.7 to 17.8. It's an absolute banger zone here. And that would mean, you know, Asia digests the news nicely, but they just drop it down for entries, and then US comes in tomorrow and starts pumping things. So that would be ideal, guys. 18.7 down to 17.8. Get ready there for AVAX. That could be the start of a nice pump for you guys, around to about 23 as a potential target. Okay, so that's the game plan on AVAX, guys. Remember, this will go into hackers, and the whole thing is we want to see this thing reset. We want to see these oscillators that are really looking bearish now. We want to see them get some kind of reversal in play on a nice support level. So I'm watching those zones for a big play. In terms of short-term scalps, well, you've got the targets there. Not looking for too much at the moment there on AVAX. Okay, and let's go 𝗏 as well. This thing finally, bro. This thing was torture. Oh my god, this thing. So Dave's actually long 𝗏. Are you still long?
Well, I've taken probably 85% off the board now. It's actually looking like a short. I was looking at it earlier. So
yeah. So I've been burning in the short, but it's finally reversing here for us, guys. So 𝗏 is turning over here on the 4 hour, looking a little bit bearish. And in terms of what I'm looking for, where's my next buy zone for 𝗏? Where am I exiting the short? Well, I think the safest play is going to be around 225. Look at that. It's a proper banger there. I've got a 382. I've got VWAPs. I've got horizontals. That looks very spicy for me there for a little push to 𝗏. So if we do get momentum to the downside, I'd say that's quite a nice bullish entry zone there, guys. 225, maybe push it to 220, something like that makes a bit of sense to me. Obviously, we do have lower levels. Okay, always understand where your next levels are. But in terms of, you know, a bullish dip, considering that there's so much interest in 𝗏 at the moment, this thing really played out a lot better than some of the other altcoins. So we know there's keen interest here, and the bulls are going to step in as soon as possible on this 𝗏 if the market's going to stay bullish. So 225, bro. Quite like that. 220, those types of zones for me. That's a bounce. May D says, are we bullish yet? Yeah, bullish. Is that a fair statement? Bullish, something like that. I want to see the market. What do you guys think we are? Let's see. Sentiment check. 2,000 votes, guys. 65% bullish. Okay. James not happy with that. Look at that. He's not happy with that.
That's not usually a good sign.
Look, it's not normally the best side, okay? But I think, look, we got super bullish.
Yeah,
tomorrow's
we pump tomorrow. Yeah,
US,
that news, stocks going up, crypto's going to follow. We pump tomorrow. It's a matter, does Asia send it straight away because they're bullish on the news too and they want to catch the pump? Or do they take it down first and then send it? But we're bullish tomorrow.
Yeah, to US, at least the open is bullish. Maybe a rejection later, but yeah.
You never know. Unless there's some tweet or some bullshit, they're already coming back and pulling back these tariff things, saying the exemptions are only temporary. We'll see. There could be something, but otherwise, we're bullish.
Okay. Guys, we're going to bring David's long entry now. I just want to talk PopCat. What a mixed bag for me. I don't care. When was it? 10 days ago, when I told you guys I was buying, the sentiment was just too low. Okay. And I told you guys I was starting a few low leverage positions. Fortunately, PopCat was one of them. Okay. So PopCat from a core position, PopCat fucking absolutely outshone. Okay. It really delivered from a degen trying to short it. It got a bit slapped around. Okay. And now PopCat was the most bought token by smart money in the last 24 hours. This was posted earlier today, so there was been a lot of interest in that. I mean, I don't know how smart it is buying the top of a pump, but things happen. Yeah. And but PopCat on the 4-hour, guys, it far exceeded my expectations. Okay, so I mean, it was crazy how this thing pumped. And then if we have to break it down afterwards, and we have to say, where did PopCat actually reject? Look how simple it is, guys, how simple TA can be. It rejects at a macro 618 pool, and it's not even a massive one. It's from the 14th of Feb. Okay, a macro 618 there, bang, and a little rejection for PopCat. Remember, TA can be really, really simple, and that's your rejection zone. So why am I bearish on PopCat? Why have I been excited to try and short this thing? Well, look at that. We've got nice divergence now on the 4-hour. The 4-hour is normally a substantial move. So divergence on the 4-hour, and you can see the last time we had upward divergence, bullish divergence on the 4-hour, there was quite a big print to the upside. Okay, so now I'm looking for a bullish move to the downside, which would mean a reset on the oscillator, but an opportunity to give us some kind of entries for round number 2 on PopCat. So in theory, we should see PopCat not break these highs again, maybe a little push here, and then start making its way lower down, leading into tomorrow. So for me, I would love to see on PopCat 225, 205. I would love to see those two areas come into play. This is a big one for me. 50-day moving average, big support here. So 225, 205, looking for that bounce on PopCat, and I'm going to be closing any shorts I have at that 50-day moving average, 204. Big level there for me on PopCat if we do start pushing to the downside. Okay, so there's your PopCat breakdown, and Chamberlain says, even I am not happy, still bearish. Look, we under 89K. I think we need to be careful still, okay, and that is why we're looking for shorts again. Okay, Davey, let's see your bullish. Let's see your long situation here.
For sure, dude. My alert just went off. 60% dump on OM right now. Holy crap. We need to see what the hell is going on. But anyways, yeah, let me give that long.
Okay. Get your long out. Let's look at. I'll get OM ready, guys. Jeez,
crypto, man. I'm telling you, shenanigans.
No.
All right, cool. Can you guys see my chart here?
Yeah. Let me pull it up there. Bang. Okay.
Yeah, so like, I mean, looking for longs right now at good levels. It's, the weekend has kind of created all those pumps. But I took a big short on EOS. We've just been playing this thing up and down. But I took the short up here. And so we're coming into potential long zone now. I've noticed we had a 786 reaction. But let me kind of just give you guys the highlights of EOS. Even though I'm not a big fan of this, the technical analysis is showing that we should see another pump here. So I've got a trend line here. I've got a macro fib pull as well. So I've got a fib pull from the bottom to the top. And I love how the 50-day MA is tying in with the point of control and trend and 618. So there's 4 things here that I really like about it. And so with what I'm looking for in the markets, again, it may not give it to me, but again, I'm looking for Asia to kind of take some profits or get some deeper entries if we are indeed to have a bullish US open. So with that pullback on Bitcoin, I would love to see EOS kind of tap this level. You can see we have a bullish order block right here. This trend line might not even be, a trend line, but I am generally looking for some kind of pullback here. If it's here, I'm happy with that. I mean, even if it comes down here, I'm okay with that. But I think it's brewing up for a long. I don't think it's an entry right now. I am looking to close my short though once we start getting into this territory. So I do want to give you guys the heads up here too, to get ready for this guy to potentially take a long. And I would say set an alert right here at the beginning of the hacker zone is like what we like to call it at 60 cents. and I would just call this macro 618. And yeah, when price action has a little bit of a pullback here, I think that's where we can start the position, start a position here and then potentially add a couple more here, and then catch, whatever bullish move we get from Bitcoin or the US market open. I think that would, it's been respecting TA for sure. Like it's having a lot of this up, down, up, down, up, down. It's getting rejected at the anchored VWAPs. It's bouncing at fib levels. And yeah, I love the tie in here. Point of control, 50-day MA, bullish order blocks, 618. I mean, even though I don't really care for this token, we're going to make money off of it, right? So we're starting to get the reversal on the 1 hour. And yeah, I really don't see EOS coming down here into this territory unless Bitcoin is having a massive pullback. So we'll see how we go.
Bro, let's deal with this. Let's deal with this OM, bro.
Right?
Look at this.
What happened, man?
God, bro. Look at this. Oh my God.
We long this or what? What do we do?
Oh my God. No, fortunately, or unfortunately, not at a short, and fortunately, not at a long. I mean, yes. So let's just break
the manipulation finally ended. This
Finally.
thing has been propped up for so long, so manipulated. I guess those manipulators decided to sell. Wow.
There you go. 63% done.
Insane.
So that means, yeah, they've unloaded their bags or whatever the story is, and they've just dumped it on everybody there. Probably got a short running too at the same time.
Yeah. You already know coordinated shorts going on.
Yeah. So anyway, if you guys want to touch this thing, you're probably going to burn your fingers. So what I would suggest is, if you want to look, it's down here. Okay. Now remember, for a candle to drop like this, it means the main whales or whatever behind it have obviously dumped their bags. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that needs to be bought up. But if you want to have a crack at this, 1.55, guys, that's a reasonable area where you want to sniff. So if you want to catch a falling knife, it's not here. Okay, be very careful. Look at that candle there. It's not
that would
there.
be a trend as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So 1.55, 1.5, 1.55, that kind of makes sense as a possible bounce zone. Okay. Dave and I are going to get ready for our hackers session. Guys, if you want to find out more, come join us at Hackers. We're going to carry on now with this discussion, and we're going to talk tons of setups, obviously, for the week ahead. So, Dave, I'll see you in 10 minutes.
See you, sir.
And see you now. And Shadow Wake says, any thoughts on XRP, bro? I'm jumping. Okay, watch the show tomorrow on Banter Plus. I'll cover XRP for you. Alternatively, come into Hackers. Yeah, we'll cover it tonight. I'm sure it's going to be a topic of conversation anyway. James, thank you, sir. Did we get all the mails from everybody that needed to mail us? Or the BitFunded?
The address was there. They're supposed to email that address if they've signed up. Yep.
Okay, if you sign up to Hackers today, Dylan.giveaways@cryptobanter.com. Mail that now. Show that you've signed up to Hackers. I'm sending you a BitFunded base package. Okay, cool. Guys, James, thank you, sir. Cool. See you guys later. Wait, hold on. Not yet. False alarm. Okay, there we go.